You're listening to the Shipyard Cat Podcast, the unofficial SAFC podcast for fans everywhere.
Hello and welcome to, I suppose, a new season of the Pod Lads. And lasses that are listening to us, we have had a bit of a break. Not so much from football. Obviously, we've had the World Cup going on, which seemed to be forever with the extra teams in it. We've come back from that sort of straight into pre-season, which is obviously what we're here to talk about today. Obviously, myself, Rob, will be your host, and I'm joined by Kev and Adam. Adam, how are you today, mate?
I'm not too bad. Just giving you the run out for the start of the new season. See how you do.
Good. And Kev looking sexy in that brand new third shirt. How are you today, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, it's its first outing. I could have wore it yesterday, but I thought I'd wear the red and white. But yeah, to be honest, lads, it's a hard decision of red and white or this shirt. Like the pink one, I'm 50-50 on, but my word, home and third are perfection.
Yeah, I mean, we will talk about the kits, obviously, a bit later on. I mean, I was sort of decided last week in Lons. I went with the red and white purely because, obviously, as everyone in the Doggers found out, the Europa League badges tend to come off at the first wash. So, obviously, I didn't want to wear the shirt, risk losing the badges completely. So yeah, I'll just take it back to the shop. The shop's already said they will, reattach them or redo them. I think it's a case of they have to take them off and actually put new badges on. I do believe that I think it's the glue used on the first set of badges that came through weren't particularly great. But look, that's a whole other issue. We will come to the kits and what Hummel have done this season in a bit. So, look, we'll get on to the basic housekeepings of this. Pre-season's over. We've had a bit of a sort of mixed bag of results for the first team. I'm not going to look at the games against the likes of Shields and stuff, which the unders have been playing. It is development. Pre-season, as I've said before, is all about getting your fitness levels up. I'd say a fairly strong first match lineup away at York, which the lads ran out 5-1 winners. 2 goals from Lafay, goal from Rigg, Tuteroff and Proctor got the 5. Obviously, the second half was basically an unders team from last season. The lads that have come through signing their first professional contracts. Obviously, then we were jetted off to the States. We saw a loss to Liverpool, but again, we had basically put an under-18 team on for the second half. The first, half and the players that were available, bearing in mind that a lot of the players were on holiday still from the World Cup. Obviously, we lost that one 4-2. Then we went on to Leeds, which I did see, Melker Elball get an awful lot of pelters over the goal. Where everyone seemed to ignore the fact that Enzo had gifted the ball to Leeds on halfway, and Elborg was way out of position for defending because he was looking for passes backwards and stuff like that, and obviously with the angles, he did sort of try and get back and trip over his own feet a little bit, but I think he was a bit harsh done by. Obviously the US tour, we wrapped it up with a 1-0 win against Wrexham. Probably a bit better performance, but them games we did have, like I say, a weakened team out. There's a lot of the unders in there and players on holiday. And then to me, I think the two which you then really got to look at, obviously away in Lens last week, which was a very enjoyable trip, I must say. Bit similar to Augsburg last year. We were backed by numbers. A lot of the lads took their, went out there. I must say, for the ones that went, getting to the away end in that ground was an absolute nightmare. Bit of ignorance by, in a way, us lot not speaking the language in a way, and not being able to get true directions. However, even with some of our fans which were fluent in French, the directions provided by locals was absolutely awful. I feel that the clubs, I think, Lons themselves should do more and, with basic signage to say how to get there. Because you do have to go off through like a little, you know, housing bit, which is nowhere near the stadium the way it's done. I think our club, though, I think the officials at our club should have had people out there pointing them in the right direction as well. I think from when we got to the ground, we tried 3 different entrances. One of them was actually at the away end, but it segregated off for their home-like fan zone type thing. And the walk from there to get to the away end, which, bearing in mind this was separated by a gate, was about a half-hour walk. It was absolutely ridiculous, but much better performance, that one. What we'd say is more of the first team with everyone back, really. The only exceptions on that game, I think, were Mukiele and Alderete. Obviously, slight injuries. I was impressed immensely at Lens with Thomas Meunier, which we'll come on to in a bit. And then, obviously, we wrapped it up yesterday with a home game, and I believe that's the first home pre-season win in about 6 attempts for us. I think the last time we won a pre-season game was against Hull at home years ago. We bit of a mixed bag, but the fitness levels are there. Kev, obviously you were there yesterday. How do you think the team performed?
It was good. I mean, to be honest with you, a few of the lads seemed to be a bit rusty for the first 5 to 10 minutes. But that seemed to shake itself right fairly quickly. The bit for me that was a bit strange was the atmosphere. I don't know what it was like on the stream, but it just seemed a little bit flat. I don't know if that's just the whole pre-season and the fact there was a limited capacity. The club do this, don't they, with the pre-season games? They always open up a little bit of the stadium at a time, and you get a lot of fans that say, "Well, I don't want to sit in that block, so therefore I'm not going to go." And for me, like, look, I'm not expecting it to be a raucous atmosphere, and you know, you to leave there with your ears ringing, but it just seemed a bit meh. The football, mint. And you got to think, they're not exactly a rubbish team. It's not like we've been playing Gateshead and Shields, like, no offense, like we have in previous seasons. We've gone and picked opponents that are challenging.
Yeah, spot on there, Kev, to me. Adam, apologies there. Your take on the atmosphere. I do believe you obviously watched the stream via, obviously, safc.com.
Yeah. No, I'm similar to Kev. It was strange, even on the stream, to watch just that kind of atmosphere. But for me, I do think it is just pre-season. It's one of those where if a goal goes in, yes, you'll celebrate it, but you're not going to be screaming and singing the play, like screaming out loud and stuff like that. I think for me, the loudest pop in that entire game was when my ender came on. And I must say that obviously Kev was there, so obviously Kev can give us his take on it. But I think for my ender coming back, that is a perfect reception to come back to.
Yeah. It was great. It's a shame it wasn't a league match to me because I think he deserved, a full stadium, giving him a proper, send off. The atmosphere I thought yesterday was, it was very strange. Like I said to Kev after the match, we had a little chat, and I think we said, Kev confirmed there was a lot of first-time fans going, like youngsters and stuff, and non-season ticket holders. Look, I'm not digging out non-season ticket holders here by any means whatsoever. But I think obviously it does make a huge difference when you're not in your usual seat and you're surrounded by the people that you're making noise with. It's pre-season, it's at home. We do have a big stadium However, to compare that to Lions last week, the atmosphere there was absolutely amazing. I think there's just under 1,400 of us. We were in good voice throughout. Obviously, Lions themselves as a club, at half time, Over the Tannoys played, Can't Help Falling in Love, which obviously the noise levels went up immensely. We all sang that. And I must say, the Lions fans gave us all a standing ovation from everywhere around the ground. The noise after that of them applauding it and appreciating it was absolutely great. And then obviously they had their own song. Obviously, I think it's called Le Commas or something like that. But look, don't quote me on that because French isn't my strongest point by a long means. But yeah, it was good to hear that their ground. I mean, it was full. They had. It's quite strange because they're sort of what you call ultras is the sort of term it is, I suppose, in European football. Is the entire stand opposite the dugouts. So if you can imagine, obviously, opposite the Jimmy Montgomery stand where everyone was seated on Saturday, imagine that being full of the hardcore fans singing. I mean, they had two guys which were on, I suppose, little parapets, like whipping the crowd up, starting the singing. And the whole atmosphere was absolutely fantastic. And it's a bit difficult to go from that to the Stadium of Light and it be so flat if you sort of get where I'm coming from. But look, that's pre-season. That's what pre-season's about. Obviously, it's great to get in new fans. Lots of photos on socials about, little Johnny or whatever he is at 4 years old going to his first ever game. That's what we need. We need the new generation of fans coming through. Obviously, I have been outspoken before, being a Durham lad, and my hatred for Durham Mags. Obviously, now that the fact that we are up there again and we're building something, we might start getting a few more of them youngsters coming through. So we want to encourage that all day long. Which sort of, I think that's the game's wrapped up. I think it's a bit of housekeeping before we move on to the kits. Obviously, transfer news.
Look at
This
our lovely
is
trophy, Robin. You forgot
sorry.
You forgot the lovely trophy we won.
The 1906 trophy. Yeah, I mean it's Look, it's a
Silverware already.
it's a pre-season match. Even after today, with the Community Shield, as it's now known, it's quite funny. We might have people listening going, "What do you mean, as it's now known?" Because obviously they don't know it's a Charity Shield, like probably us older lot. Even that is just a glorified friendly. You get a trophy for it, but it's not an actual proper trophy as such to me. I suppose it's a bit like the European Super Cup between Villa and PSG. Great game the other night, but at the end of the day, it is a pre-season. If they played that game a few weeks into the season or something like that, when it actually means something, it might, be better. But look, obviously, we'll start with the outgoings because there's quite a few of them. Obviously, we touched on him earlier on. Obviously, Eliza Mayenda going to our opponents on Saturday, Stade Rennais or Rennes, depending on how you want to call them. Anthony Patterson went over to Wrexham. Dennis Sirkin has now gone to QPR on a free. Dan Neal off to Rangers on a free. Obviously, these are players that were out of their contracts, as well as Bertrand Traore and Noel Huggins. They are out of contract, but they are still unattached. They've not gone to a club yet. Obviously, Harrison Jones off to Peterborough. I know Kev's gutted over that one, but again, on a free. Obviously, Nazari Rusin gone to Karpaty back in Ukraine. Timothy Pembele making the permanent switch back to Le Havre. Um, you know, obviously Arthur Masuaku, he's gone a conscious spore in Turkey on a free. I think that's a case of getting his wages off the books. Obviously freeing up that space, which we'll talk about in a minute. Leo Hjelde, gone off to Belgium for Michelin. And Abdullahi off to ISA Sport in Turkey as well. Undisclosed fees for them too. So there's going to be a slight fee, but obviously not much. Obviously, Milan Alexic has gone out on loan again to Partizan in Serbia. So they're the and one more. I suppose in a way, I suppose we should say is an outgoing. Is one that I'm a bit gutted about for really that we couldn't do a full deal for him. Is obviously Hatrauda has gone back to RB Leipzig, back to his parent company, basically because the loan ended. Incomings at the moment, we've got Thomas Meunier, who came in from Lille, but on a free, basically out of contract as well. Now, he looked a proper elite player against Lens. Your take on that, lads? I mean, obviously, I know you watched the game. I mean, what did you think of him?
He looked like he'd been there last season. He just gelled with the lads instantly, and it's just that's what we need again. Whoever we bring in, or however many we bring in, we need that mentality again. Come in, link up with the others, and just gel. And to me, he didn't do anything wrong. He was unlucky to obviously have his goal ruled off offside. What a debut that would have been. You come into the team and you get the goal straight away, and you're not the striker. You're just the defender. It's just brilliant. And I think what's even better for me is his experience. He's played in Champions League, so he's got the experience of that elite level, and he's got the experience of the Europa as well. So he's going to have that experience that he can bring to the younger ones, like you, Chris Riggy and stuff like that, to go, right, don't let the occasion get the better of you. Play your football the way you want to play football and enjoy it. And I think he's going to be integral to the team.
Kev, your thoughts on him?
He's very long. Like, I think it's one thing we might have not lacked necessarily last season, but it was something we certainly noticed against some teams that we lacked a little bit of height. And, him, Ballard, Mukiele at the back certainly strengthens the height department. Obviously, I'm sure we'll talk about others when they happen. But yeah, I thought it was good when there was a couple of moments where they went to clear their lines and he stuck his leg out and got in the way. And I think that just showed his sort of his leg span really, because you need it. When they're hoofing the ball up, if you've not got the quickest of players to chase it, at least him blocking it and sending it out for a throw in is worthwhile. And yeah, like I say, when corners and things are getting whipped in, his height's not going to be a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, to me, it was just how comfortable he was on the ball. You could see he's an elite level player. Obviously, he was at the World Cup. His career, when you look at it with his caps and everything like that, I mean, the guy's, yeah, he can only bring good things to us. As it stands, he is the only incoming at the moment. I do believe, though, that obviously it was all over socials yesterday that we have now agreed a deal with Dayan Methali from Toulouse, which would be for their record sale. I believe it's 28 million plus 2 million on add-ons, which it might seem a bit strange because obviously Toulouse had rejected that exact same bid earlier on in the week.
Yep.
However, I think the fact that the rumour was that we were then looking at Juve from West Ham, I think Toulouse have thought, hang on a minute, we can't afford not to take this money. And I believe then Toulouse came back to the table and went, no, we'll take that offer. The lad made it plainly obvious he wants to play for us anyway. He does look like a real great talent. However, as it stands at the moment, he's not actually technically ours, even though, as we're recording this on Sunday evening, I do believe his medical was scheduled for today.
There's two different things, isn't there? There's today or tomorrow. But from what I'm understanding from Atari is what I find funny is apparently there for Toulouse, there's two owners of their club. They've got kind of like a what's the word and I'm looking for? Sorry, shareholders. The majority stake shareholder of Toulouse has came out and went, you can't refuse that offer. You need that money. Go back and take it. So that I think they've came back and went, can you structure it slightly different? So we went, right, we'll give you, I think it's 25 up front and 2.7 million of add-ons. So it's English wise it's 27.5, but I'm not too sure if that is the concrete figure.
Kev, you got anything to add on the outgoings and incomings, mate? I mean, obviously, I know I could tell you're gutted when the news broke of Harrison Jones.
For me, it's the whole European homegrown element of it, though. We're keeping the likes of Alan Brown around by the sounds of it for that side of it. But we've then let the likes of, like say, Harrison Jones go. It's I see it seems a bit strange for me, some of the movements in the background, but my only worry at the moment, lads, and I'm sure every Sunderland fan's feeling the same way, is we are a little bit late. We are one or two injuries away from a disaster happening. You know, the fact that Mukiele's currently got a knock. Ballard didn't look great the other night against what is it, Rennie. So yeah, that worries me a little bit. And obviously, like I say, Muniz now also got a knock from training. I worry a little bit too much maybe that hits us in the start of the season. That then unsettles the squad.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. Obviously, we've got to manage injuries more so this year, I think, with the Europa League.
Was it yourself? Was it yesterday you said to me we potentially have a 50-game season here? Was it last time we discussed? Yeah.
No, it's not potentially. We do have a 50-game season because, I mean, you've got to think there's 38 Premier League games. There's 2 guaranteed Carabao Cup and FA Cup games. Obviously, you only guarantee the first round. There's 8 guaranteed Europa League games. So that's 48 games. I mean, it's potentially, with everything going right, you know, it's a 65 game season, you know, and that would be finals, etc. However, I know obviously a lot of the pundits and stuff are going, how is Sunderland going to cope with 2 games a week? Hang on a minute. Apart from last season, we've done that for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
You know, there's lads that are doing it, and, you know, these are professionals. Yeah, the intensity of the games is probably going to be a bit higher. However, some of these Europa League games, depending on the draw, obviously, I mean, you've got the final qualifying rounds coming up this week, this Thursday, next Thursday, and then the draw the following Friday. Obviously, the 28th of August. Some of these teams might be basically glorified pub teams as such.
Yeah.
I mean, not wanting to be disrespectful, but on these levels, you know, that's sort of what we're going to be. We're going to be playing teams which are probably or possibly more suited to the levels of, like you say, South Shields or, you know, Hartlepool, you know, things like that, you know, these lesser leagues. Look, who knows until it's done, you know. I mean, obviously, we all want AC Milan. Obviously, Benfica in the qualifications. I mean, why Benfica still in the qualifying rounds for this? You would have thought that from the Portuguese league, they would have, you know, had enough sort of money in the bank, so to speak, with UEFA that they wouldn't have to go through qualifying. Obviously, you know, there's no Rangers because they couldn't even get past, I think, the second qualifying round, you know, which for a team which claims as big as what they are in the league, which claims it's quite good, is pretty embarrassing, to be honest. Don't want to, have a go and a load of Rangers fans getting onto our case. But, when you see some of the teams that are in that competition, the likes of Rangers, etc., should be qualifying for it, in my opinion. But, so, so I think that's all the pre-season wrapped up, lads, unless you two want to add anything else.
The only thing I can think of is touching base on what Kev said about Regis coming out with the 55 game situation. It was regards to the remarks in Gates Isidore when he turned on and said you can't play 55 games a season with one striker.
Well, you can't. I mean, realistically, you can't play with two strikers. We need a striker is one of those positions that we need to bring in. It's a shame that Eli went, because I do believe that he could have had a big season for us, but it's one of those tough things. A lad that age where we've turned good profit on, which obviously helps with the PSR or the squad cost ratio as it is now going forward this season. Obviously, it's a huge thing. But look, I mean, we can do a whole other episode of finance. I don't think that's really what we want to do. So look, that's the pre-season wrapped up. I think now we should move on to the kits. Kev, I think you spent more time in the club shop than anybody this off season, or So I think you should take this little segment.
I mean, it's understandable. Have you seen the kits? I think the only person that's probably spent more time in that club shop than me is that lad called Tucky, who's on Twitter. He first in the queue, I think, for 2 of the 3 kits, hasn't he? And camping out overnight. Fair play to him. I think Hummel have absolutely pulled out the bag. Look, I'll be honest with you, the Elvis kit, I'm still undecided. I like it when the team are in it. It looks well, but I think it is a bit too much pink. But it's one of those, isn't it? It's not going to clash with anybody unless you're playing yourselves.
Or Stad Rene in their away kit.
Well, exactly. At least we didn't have to change our kit halfway through, the first half due to kit clashes, like some other team did the other day, and they still lost. But no, look, the kits are absolutely banging. Realistically, this season we're probably going to see the home shirt and the third shirt played in the most, just based on the sort of how last season looked. But yeah, for me, 10 out of 10. Again, it's not a template, and I think that's the one thing we will always say with Hummel. We are getting custom kits every season here.
I'll just touch on that, Kev, because I think you've got a really valid point there, whereas a lot of the big manufacturers, they do use templates. Look, it's going to happen. However, with the designs that they produce for us, are we possibly Hummel's biggest commercial partner, as in sales?
Officially, yes, but in Coventry's eyes, no, it'll be them.
Yeah, look, I mean, look, I'll give them a shout out. I think they've done a good job on the Coventry kits, the little bits that I've seen of it, but it's not our kits, is it? I mean, the Elvis kit, I think you might be wrong there about the third kit being played in more than the Elvis kit. I think obviously part of the deal with the Elvis Presley Foundation is that kit gets worn at virtually every opportunity. It does look really good in person. Like you say, I think at first when it was released, it was a bit, oh, hang on a minute, that's really, really pink. However, it looks fantastic on the pitch. And just to compare it to, obviously, Stade Rennais kit yesterday, the pink and white does not look anywhere near as good as the pink and black. I mean, the whole shirt just sort of pops. I mean, the home kit, I'll come to you in a sec, Adam, but that home kit, the styling of it, I mean, I have seen so much on social media of random fans from all these other clubs doing kit reviews, and they're all saying that kit is the best kit out this season. And, you know, these fans are buying the kit because it's such a good shirt. Adam?
No, massively. You guys know what I'm like for a retro shirt, and that home shirt is the mixture of a retro shirt and modern. And it you can't put in words of how great these shirts are. Like Kev said, once again, Hummel smashed out of the park with three absolute banging shirts. And no matter where we're playing the season, home, away, Europe, whatever, people are going to recognise our shirts and go, that's Sunderland. And I think that's going to make us even a bigger prospect for people.
Yeah, I mean, I must say, obviously, last week in Lawns, I think probably most of the fans had the home shirt on.
Mhm.
Not much. I'd say it was probably a 60-40 split between that and the Elvis shirt. Quite a few people had the goalkeepers' tops on as well. And I think this season with the goalkeeper shirts, I'll sort of wrap it up at this, but whereas previous seasons, it's like this is the home goalkeeper kit, this is the away goalkeeper kit, this is the third goalkeeper kit. This season, the goalkeeper kits have had their own release,
Yeah.
and there's not a home away third. It's pretty much, I think, down to whatever the keeper prefers on that day.
Yeah.
Obviously, the green shirt does look better with the home kit because of the styling, with the black shorts, etc., and stuff like that. It is going to look better. But I mean, the whole homage to Monty is absolutely fantastic. Lads, can you think of anything else at all?
Nope.
Right. So, well, listeners, thanks for joining us again. Obviously, it means a lot to us. To have the pod and you lot listening to us ramble on at times. We will be joined. Sorry, we will be convening later in the week to obviously preview the season and especially the Ipswich match, the first home game. The one that counts. So, Adam, thank you for joining me today,
Cheers, buddy. Means a lot.
and Kev, thank you for joining us as well, mate.
Yeah, pleasure as always.
Right, so, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the pre-season done, and we shall see you when the money starts talking and it counts.